Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeanette, and I'm from the Consumer and Investor Office at the Securities Commission Malaysia. Welcome to today's InvestSmart online series webinar. Today's webinar is on the introduction to sustainable and responsible investment, SRI, Sukuk and bond in Malaysia. We would like to thank you for taking the time for being here today. Today, we are pleased to invite to have with us Mr. Ahmad Al-Isham, a manager from the Bond and Sukuk Information Exchange, BIX, to present on the topic of Introduction to Sustainable and Responsible Investment, SRI, Sukuk and Bond in Malaysia. Please do stay tuned till the end of the session, as we'll be having a short Q&A session followed by a pop quiz session for all participants. Okay, please do follow us on our social media platform for useful information on investing and latest updates on our initiatives. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Isham to share his presentation. Let me share a brief background on Mr. Isham. Mr. Isham is an experienced manager dealing in equities, bonds, sukuk, and corporate finance with history of working in investment, asset management, major Islamic bank, public listed companies, and regulatory organizations. Currently, a founding member of a bond and sukuk information platform, BIX Malaysia, to support Securities Commission Malaysia effort to liberalize bond and sukuk market in Malaysia. Now, let me invite Mr. Isham to share his presentation. Hi, Mr. Isham.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Jeanette.
Good afternoon.
Before inviting me for this meeting, I'll share this slide first.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. So I would like to say thank you to InvestSmart for having this webinar and for inviting me to be one of the speakers. So my name is Aham. I'm from Bond and Sukuk Information Exchange. You can know more about BIX Malaysia, www.bixmalaysia.com. So what we do is we centralize information on all bond and sukuk information in Malaysia into one platform. We also collaborate with SC to promote the development of sustainable and responsible bond and sukuk in Malaysia. And we have like a microsite in our website as well about SRI Center, where we centralize all things that are related to SRI, bond and sukuk.
Sorry, Mr. Isham, your presentation is on presenters mode. Maybe you can just project it.
How do I do this?
Yep.
Is it okay already?
Yep. This is okay.
Okay, so I think I will just proceed with this then.
Okay.
Okay, so all right. So basically, today what I will be trying to present is basically more on introduction series. So I won't be going too deep into it. It's basically an introduction slide for people that just want to know what is SRI and how does SRI and bond and sukuk come together, and what is the development so far in the Malaysian market and so on. So this presentation objective, there's three objectives that I'm trying to achieve for everyone here today. So number one is to provide the fundamental introduction to what is actually SRI investing. And second is to understand why SRI is important for institutional investors and also retail investors like you and I. And number three, to understand the development of SRI investment asset in Malaysia. So how far have been so far? How far have the SRI investment been developed so far? So I will start off first with like, how does this SRI thing come about? So it's all started with the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, by the United Nations in 2015. So under the 2030 agenda, the United Nations, all the countries in the United Nations are trying to develop a simple way to think about how we can create a more inclusive, equitable, prosperous, and sustainable future. So under these goals, which are agreed by 193 member states of the UN, including Malaysia, and they have 17 goals, as you can see here. So basically, it covers basically people, planet, and prosperity. And the development that they're trying to achieve is through three views, which is economic, through socials, and also through environment. So as you can see, some of the sustainable development goal is through like more trying to achieve like no poverty, zero hunger, good health, quality education, gender equality, and so on. So, and as time goes on, as all the researchers come in, they realize that adverse changes to our planet not only impact our livelihood, but will also impact the economy and business in the long run. That's why in the United Nations, all these countries come together and say, okay, we have to achieve these things because it will also impact the economy of the country and also the businesses. And you can see on some of the facts that we get here on the screens, like example, economic loss, in comparing between 1978 to 1997 and between 1998 and 2017, the economic loss arising from weather-related disaster is actually 151%, which is between 3.7 trillion ringgit and 9.2 trillion ringgit. Let's take some more example. The global GDP will decrease by 7% by 2000 if global temperature continue to rise by 0.04% per year. So they quantifying the impact in our environment to actually to the business itself. Even let's look at the land degeneration. The global economy will lose 23 trillion USD by 2050 through land degradation. So how do land degradation mean that the quality of land, the soils actually goes down because of human intervention. And all these things come out, and all the businesses and all the leaders of the countries realize that they need to be more inclusive. They need to find a way for the business to be more sustainable and to look at the long run of the economy and so on. And then this is where SRI came about. There's a lot of definition about what is SRI. It can be sustainable, responsible, and impact investing. It can be sustainable and responsible investment. It can be socially responsible investing. But the ones in Malaysia that are accepted by Securities Commission Malaysia is actually sustainable and responsible investment as its definition of SRI. So the development SRI in the capital market accelerate when there's an increasing demand for sustainable and environmental infrastructure financing, meet with a higher demand for a more ethical and impactful investing. So meaning that there's an increasing demand for financing when regards to sustainable and environment infrastructure. So like example, you want to create alternative energy as an example, you need a very high capex. But when you go to banks, it's very hard for you to get the financing because it's actually quite high risk. Because maybe there's no track record, maybe there's no underlying asset and so on. But if you go to the capital market, as long as willing lenders or willing investor, you can actually get the market. So there's actually a gap in the financing there. And then when you look at on the investment side, there's actually high demand for more. There are more and more demand for more ethical and impactful investing. So meaning that people want to invest in something that not only give their financial return, but also something that are more impactful, something that are more ethical. The green and sustainability bond and Sukuk are a new trend in the bond market as there's a viable response to the infrastructure finance gap. So it's like when you want to do a power plant, but then you issue bonds, and then if there's an investor coming in, you can just buy it from bond. So now we're talking about something that you want to do a business that are a bit more riskier, where you cannot get financing for the banks, but the impact from the business itself, it have a very positive impact to the environment, to social, and this is where you can actually come to the capital market, and there are demand in the market for this kind of businesses as long as it's viable in terms of the business model and so on. So under the sustainable investing, this like an umbrella term. If you look here on the chart, there's ethical investing, green investing, program investing, impact investing, social investing, mission investing, sustainable, ESG investing. There's so many names, but basically what you have to know is that all these investment trying to achieve both adequate financial returns as well as a long-term positive impact on the community and environment. So SRI is an investment strategy that look for financial and non-financial performance. So it's an additional things that you put into your investment strategy. So this is a basic of SRI investment strategy, meaning that normally when you invest in something, you look at portfolio management, and then there you look at your return and you look at your risk. Now you have this extra financial analysis available for you. First is the screening, because all of the SRI have to follow a certain framework. To a certain extent, you know, all these bonds and Sukuk investment that are within the SRI framework already have a basic screening that meet a certain criteria that are impactful to the environments and all the good things as well. And then the second one is the non-financial performance. So right now, you not only look at your financial report of the company or routine invest, you also look at the impact that the company do, because not two companies do the same. For example, if a company do solar, I mean, not two solar company produce the same amount of energy. You can look at how good are the managers of the businesses in achieving the objectives that they achieve. So you have now have a non-financial performance that can help you to do extra financial analysis. And then the world is changing across all fronts. So it's the same like where people have to start thinking in a different way. So how the development of SRI investment in the world is just like how the world start accepting Islamic investment. So it's not only like, for example, like Islamic investment now, it's not only for people that as a Muslim, it's also for people that are actually looking for things that have the same objective as Islamic investment. It's the same with SRI. There's no targeted meaning that I only want SRI for certain country, but it's something that some people that they want to give back to the community. So there's a lot of demands to the SRI. For example, you can see on the right, the global SRI asset actually doubled from 2012 to 2018, from 40 trillion USD to 31 trillion. And you look at the global green bond issue itself, it's actually grew from 2014 by 37 billion to 258 billion in 2019. So the reason why exponential growth in the green bond issuance probably is because like green bonds is actually the easiest way or the most simplest way for you to go to start with SRI in your investment, because it's like a project financing, but to finance for a project that actually impact the environment better. And then you can look at like why SRI investing, why a lot of people are talking about it. The reason why a lot of people are talking about it because it gives a lot of value to multiple stakeholders, not only for investors. It's also good for the regulators. It's also good for the issuer. So as you can see in the slides, like importance of SRI for a regulator is first is to facilitate projects that meet United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So this is something like the KPI for the country itself. The second is that investor diversification. Right now, by having this SRI, you can actually increase the type of investor that come into the capital market. Not only people that are only looking for profit, you can also look for people that actually come to the market to give back to the environment. I mean, you have this NGO, you have all these like people that actually do for charity. So this is another way for people to come into the capital market. And you also attract investors with SRI mandates. It's the same when the Islamic mandates start coming around. So meaning when there are demands for SRI mandates, then by opening the capital market to all these SRI products, actually allow more investors to come in and more products to be there in the market. So for issuer, meaning for people that are looking for financing, it meet the financing gap, it fill the gap for ESG infrastructure project. So ESG is environment, social, and good governance kind of project. So things are project that are high in capex where you have to invest a lot of money, have very high risk that the banks don't want to take. So it actually fit this criteria. And the second one is the opportunities for grants, tax exemption for SRI issuance. So this is all the things that promote the development of SRI asset in the capital market. For investors, there's retail investor and institutional investor. So like for institutional investor, like people at the banks or asset managers, it meet the client demand. So there will be clients that actually come, okay, I want to invest in something that not only give return for me, but do something impactful to the environment. So there's a demand, increasing demand. So that's why it's important for them. The second is corporate citizenship. So meaning that this is something where businesses realize that they are a part of this planet, they are part of the citizens of the planet. So meaning that in the long run, they want to also contribute back to the environment. So that's called corporate citizenship. And the third one is potential economic benefit in the long run. They have a sustainable income is better than looking at just on the short run. And for retail investors like you and I, the most important thing is to maintain the shareholder value. So meaning that if let's say the investment itself go down in value because of the performance of non-financial, for example, that as long as they contribute good non-financial performance, meaning that they meet their objective, they exceed their objective, even if the values goes down, as a shareholder is maintained the value. So you can hold the investment for a longer time and you can ride through the wave of ups and downs. On top of that, it also gives you additional info for screening. It makes you easier without you going too deep. And because of all the criteria within the SRI, you make sure that you know that the business itself is very transparent. There's no hanky-panky, there's no funny things that are happening inside. And of course, there's also reason for you to support a good cause for retail investors. So meaning that you believe in something, and that thing, you know that this business I invest in can achieve that objective. So it's a reason for you as well. In Malaysia, if you look at seeing the increase of demand for SRI asset in the capital market globally, Securities Commission Malaysia is stepping up in 2014 to be one of the earliest adopter opening its capital market to the development of sustainable investment. So in 2014, SEs actually launched their SRI Sukuk framework. So at the back of their competitive advantage, which is the Sukuk framework, they come up with another framework that also cater for this sustainable issuance. And also the FTSE for Good Bursa Malaysia Index to provide more visibility and profiling of ESG compliant companies. This is basically on the share side, the stock side. So in 2015, the Khazanah Nasional actually issued the first social impact sukuk in Malaysia of 1 billion ringgit to be used for authorization for education purpose. So this is an example of social bond. And also introduction of sustainability reporting through Bursa Malaysia listing requirement. In 2016, there's a tax incentive for SRI Sukuk issuer. And in 2017, there's an issuance of social impact Sukuk by Khazanah, which is second tranche with a retail portion. And there's an issuance of the world's first green Sukuk under SRI Sukuk framework to finance 50 megawatt solar project. And furthermore, there are also issuance of the SC guidelines on the SRI funds to facilitate and encourage greater growth as SRI fund in Malaysia, meaning that there will be more unit trust, more wholesale fund for retail investor or for investor to participate in this SRI space. In 2018, the establishment of 6 million green SRI Sukuk grant scheme to offset the external review costs. So external review is what differentiates between a normal bond and sukuk and SRI bond and sukuk. So a normal bond and sukuk, you will have a rating agency give you a rating. So meaning based on your credit. If your financial is strong and you're capable to pay back the debt, then you will get a very high rating, for example, AAA or AA. But now in SRI Sukuk, you have an external review on top of the current rating you have. So this external review, what they do is that they rate the company based on the impact of the SRI they're trying to achieve. So you can, it's like, that's where you can see the additional screening comes in. So you know that the business, okay, you know they can make this kind of payment based on the rating that they have got. On top of that, you also know like the objective they're trying to achieve, how good they are in following all this framework of ESG and so on. This is slides, right? Okay. And then in 2019, SE saw that there's a lot more demands in sustainables and all this SRI space for capital market. So they launched the Sustainable and Responsible Investment Roadmap for Malaysia capital market. So they developed a 5 strategy to be implemented over the next 5 years. So for people that don't know what is SRI Sukuk, SRI Sukuk is where the Sukuk proceed will be applied exclusively for funding of any activities or transaction related to eligible SRI project. So Sukuk is actually an Islamic side of a bond. So it's like an Islamic bond. So SRI bond or SRI Sukuk, there's a difference. Either you're Islamic or you're conventional. Okay, so if you look further on the SRI development in Malaysia, so you look on the right side. So this is the SRI Sukuk framework, so to say. So as long as the issuance meet this objective and within this eligible SRI project, they can actually issue the bond or Sukuk under these guidelines. So one of the objective is like to conserve the use of energy, promote the use of renewable energy, improve quality of life of the society, reduce greenhouse gas emission, preserve and protect the environment and natural resources, address or mitigate specific social issue, or seek to achieve positive social outcome. So this is the objective of the businesses that that want the financing for. And you can see down below there's a more breakdown of where you can be within this circle. And the reason why this SRS also like getting attention is because of the wakaf side, meaning that the development of wakaf property outside. So wakaf is that the reason about wakaf is that it actually promote the development on the social account. So meaning if let's say you want to issue something for development of like wakaf land, for example, and that is for the benefit of the people that are eligible for the benefit. So meaning that you actually promoting the development in the social of the country. So in Axis, they're trying to support the developments of more SRS Sukuk and bond grant schemes. So Securities Commission Malaysia actually come with the Sukuk and bond grant scheme, and this is administered by Capital Market Malaysia, CMM or CM Square, to cover the cost incurred by issuer for independent expert review of sustainable Sukuk issuance. So just like I explained before, these grants actually can cover the external review cost, which is up to 90% of the actual external review cost or subject to a maximum of 300,000. On top of that, you can also get the tax exemption for 5 years, meaning that once you get the grant, you automatically be a recipient of the tax exemption. And it can also be on the claim basis for an issue program, meaning that you can issue first and you can claim back the grants from the grant. And if let's say your organization you are working for right now are looking for financing, and it is within the eligible projects that you can see in the slides, then maybe it's something that you can go to CMM Capital Market Malaysia website, and there's actually application period starting from January 2021 until it's fully utilized. So since the introduction of SRI Sukuk framework, there are a total of 13 SRI Sukuk issuance in Malaysia, including 7 SRI Sukuk issuance which are duly recognized under Asian standards and SRI Sukuk, Green Sukuk. In the Green SRI Sukuk space, 4.3 billion of Green SRI Sukuk has been issued, making up more than 90% of the SRI Sukuk issuance, financing 482 megawatts of renewable energy project in Malaysia. As you can see that these SRI issues, they are looking more not only on the returns, but also on the impact of the project itself. If you look on the left, you can see the breakdown of SRI Sukuk issuance in Malaysia. Right now, majority of it is in the green space, meaning that a lot of issue right now is actually the one that actually doing renewable energy, that demand to do solars or also additional different kinds of alternative energy. And also there's also other issues as on the social side or sustainability side. So one of the aim that the development trying to achieve is actually to get more people to issue on the other sides as a social and also sustainability. And if you look at the standards on the right, you can see that majority of the issuance meet both criteria, which is under the Asian standards and also SRI Sukuk standards. So the next one, you can see that this is the chart by bond pricing and destination, where the green one on the top is actually the all bond index performance since 2019, and the two at the bottom is the bond pricing ESG bond index, Islamic and conventional. So as you can see that the both of the top and the bottom one, both the ESG bond index and the all bond index shows an almost similar performance to total bond index. So meaning that this provides investment managers opportunity to choose a more impactful investment without sacrificing the returns. you can see the movement is almost similar. So in a way that either you invest in non-SRI or SRI, your return will probably be something the same. So this can also show that there's a lot of demands, there's a lot of opportunities in this space as well. And under the Malaysia SRI roadmap, the Scottish Commission actually developed main strategy for 5 years to develop and facilitate SRI ecosystem in Malaysia capital market. The first one is the widening the range of SRI instrument. So like I showed you just now, that right now majority is on the green side, which is for alternative energy. So there will be more framework to actually liberate or to make it a bit more attractive for other type of SRI issuer to come into the market. The second one is to increase the SRI investor base. So by having more option, by having more SRI product, we can actually attract more money to come into this space. So they want more people to actually invest in SRI kind of product. Number three, building a strong SRI issuer base. So on the supply side, so they wanted more issuer to issue more SRI, but apart of that, they also want this issuer to be stronger company, not only people that are very high risk, but also people, not only companies that are high risk, but also companies that are safe and strong to go into this SRI space as well. And number four, of course, to instill strong internal governance culture to make sure all these issuers promotes transparency and facilitate investment decision to inculcate good governance practice in the SRI space. And the last is designing information architecture in SRI ecosystem, meaning there must be a platform where all the SRI data will be centralized into one platform for investors to have access to this information for free. So this is where BIGS Malaysia comes in. So this is the page of BIGS Malaysia. You can actually go www.bigsmalaysia.com. In there, you can actually look that in the middle, there's actually big search, big calculator, big articles, and also SRI Center. If you click on the SRI Center, you will go to this microsite. So this is a collaboration between BIGS Malaysia and Securities Commission Malaysia, where we centralize all the information that are related to SRI bond and Sukuk into here. So you can see all the latest, let's say you can see if there's any grants or if there's any new articles that comes in. And then you can also see that all announcements that are related to SRI are also be here. But one of the most important things is actually the listing. So if I go to the next slide, in the middle, you can see that in Big Search, you can actually filter all the bonds in Malaysia based on their ESG or not. So right now in BIGS Malaysia, we have all the bonds in Malaysia. We have almost 1.3 trillion ringgit bonds in this website. They're all active. So now you can actually filter out and you can look at all these companies that are considered under SRI framework, and you can look like what makes them SRI, how are their performance. And if let's say you are on the sides of the issuer sides, you're working in a company that are also in this kind of projects, you can look at this company that do the same business as you and how do they get a project, how do they show themselves as issuer, and how do they attract investor. And on top of that, you see on the left, you can see all the resources there, the publication, the guidelines, the frameworks, it will be available in this website. But I think the most important things is, of course, the articles and tutorials. So in the articles, no matter what levels you are beginners, you are advanced, or you are intermediate, there's always an article for you to benefit from it. So there's a space for you to learn, and not only on the SRI, but also on all things that are related to bond and Sukuk. And then, so right now you must have been thinking, okay, so I know basically about all these SRI thing. I understand fundamentally as an introduction about what it's all about. But as a retail investor, where can I come in? So that's where you look at this retail access to SRI investment in Malaysia. So all these funds are unit trust and wholesale fund. So if you look on the right, there's all the funds managers. that are having this product, and on left is all the funds that are related. You can Google the name, but basically, if you look at, basically, it's not only SRI funds. There's also a lot of SRI funds and Islamic also. So if you are someone that are looking for Islamic product, but you are also interested with SRI product, you can look into some of this product here. For example, that I just take some, maybe M Islamic Global SRI. So it's an Islamic fund as well, meaning that they not only invest in Malaysia, they also invest in all the SRI product globally. And then the interesting one, for example, the public e-carbon efficient fund. So meaning this is the fund that invests in things that are produce carbon efficiency. Maybe bonds, maybe stocks, and maybe all the other things. If you are interested for bond itself, you can do like example the bottom one, Afin Huang SGD bond fund. So meaning that it's a bond fund that targeting all the businesses that trying to achieve what the United Nations Sustainable Goal trying to achieve, maybe something like that. You can look more into it. You can Google about it, and then maybe this is something that you are interested in. It's where you can have access to it. Yeah. So with that, I would like to say thank you. Just for before I open the Q&A, I just want to tell everyone that this is an introduction presentation. So it's not something that you should straight go invest after this. It's not something like that. It's something for you to, you need to learn more. You need to do your research, and you need to see all the access there is. Like for example, the slides that I showed you before. Look into their pamphlets, look into their website, and if it's something that you really want to support, if it's something that you really want to look at, then maybe this is an avenue that can interest you. Maybe this is something that you can diversify your investment. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Izam, for that very informative presentation. Maybe you would like to pick up some questions before we proceed to our pop quiz.
Okay, so I look at these Slidos. Okay, how is SRI evaluated? What make you say one is SRI and another is not SRI? So in the bond space, it's all about the framework. So when the regulator comes in the framework, it said that, okay, if you want to issue an SRI bond, your bonds, the money that you get from issuing this bond must be used to this, all the things that are eligible within the SRI space. So, and on top of having a rating agency rated you, you also will have to have the external review rating your SRI performance as well. So as an investor, you can take comfort to know that all these bonds that issue under SRI will perform according to what they promise you when you ask for money from you, so to say. Okay, second, where can I buy SRI and bond? Is there any avenue or platform to buy? So for retail investor, the easiest way is actually to go through unit trust. The reason because you have an active asset managers that will pick and choose the investments, the Sukuk and the bond within the SRI space for you. So right now in Malaysia that I showed just now, there's a lot of options. But of course, the access to retail investor will be a bit hard because if you look at corporate bond, the minimum investments in terms like say one lot is around 5 million, and if let's say the minimum investment, even if it's odd lot, it's around 250,000. So it will be very hard for retail investors to come in. But if you go to all these unit trusts and all these active asset managers, they can help you to buy it at a much accessible introductions access point. So meaning you can enter at much lower cost. Okay, say some more. Okay, SRI is important to institutional investors and big players who go through the market. Do you think retailer will care about SRI? For me personally, I believe that SRI will develop on how Islamic products are being developed before. So if you say that before this, only high institutionals will look for Islamic products. So right now we also have a platform where retail investors can actually are looking for this kind of product. So of course, the way you enter the market will be different. For example, you can't like straight go to to bonds, say you want to buy 5 million SRI bonds, of course you can't do that. But as a retail, they will have also other access, example, through the mutual fund or also unit trust. But as more demands comes in, all these organizations that all these investments platform will have to cater to your demand. For example, if I want more SRI in certain platforms that you normally invest in, then of course there will be more product coming in. So it's all work in progress, so to say. And as long as you really believe in, like you say, you not only want to invest that give you return, you also want to invest something that also impactful to your environment, then this is a value you can look for. And I'm sure a good heart, everyone have a good heart in themselves. So maybe this is something that an avenue they can go in instead of just go to the charity and so on. Do you foresee SRI become mainstream? I would see SRI becoming something as mainstream as Islamic product are. Okay, so Islamic product in Malaysia are very big. Majority of reason because majority of our people are Muslim, of course. But the same with SRI. Now it's not only open to people that are Muslim, but also all the people that really believe in something that are more impactful. So I believe it will be as big as Islamics also one day in Malaysia. And as you can see, globally also everyone is pushing to this kind of product. And as more and more people look at that, if you invest in SRI product, you can also get something similar to if you invest in non SRI. So there will be more demands coming into the market like that. The same like some people actually look at Islamic product because they saw like maybe the return compared to conventional is not as much different, but they have an additional value inside it. So that's how it will go. Okay, second one, SRI Sukuk, do we have to get rating? Okay, under the framework in SC, of course, right now there's a possibility for you to issue non-rated bonds or Sukuk. But most probably you will have to get a rating for you to attract investors. That's one thing. But now we're talking about under SRI Sukuk, you have to have an external review. So that's where the grants and the grants come in. So the grants actually help you cover the cost for the external rating. And this external rating, like I say, it's actually rate you based on your impact rather than the credit of the investment, the credit of your company itself. Yeah. Okay, so I think I answered a couple more questions. Is it okay, Janet? Can we proceed to pop quiz right now?
Yeah, can. For any more information, I think you can contact Bix and they can actually reply you with any further questions that you may have. So thank you, Mr. Isam,
Okay.
for this presentation and for answering as many questions as you can. So thank you and see everyone soon. Thank you, Mr. Isam, for your presentation once again.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.